Yeah. As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains, haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up, fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah.
You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio.
Right. Welcome, New Haven. Thank you, Tom Ficklin, for this gift to be able to spend some time with musical royalty. Oh my gosh. And then I didn't realize that the faith-based connection. So I'm just a little old Bible kid who throws his hands up. And, you know, I'm not the person in the choir you want to lead the song, or even you put me in the back over there, but I am the one that throws my hands up. So we have the fabulous and amazing Dunn Pearson Jr. with us. And if you know anything about music, if you were an OJ's fan like me in the old days in the projects when we be dancing away over there, you would understand that this man has, I don't know, 20, 30, I don't know how many awards over there in there. And then we have a Grammy nominated. We have Jeremiah Jasmine Paul, who is a new pastor. And we'll talk about that. But this pastor isn't like any other pastor. This is the season 2 winner of The Voice and person who toured with my hero, Alicia Keys, for a decade. Oh my gosh. But today, gentlemen, I hope that we engage in a conversation about how faith and music. And so I'm going to start us off with a kind of just normal question that Tom Ficklin always says. He usually asks, and I'll start with you, Dunn, and then I'll move to Pastor Paul, and then we'll just have a wonderful conversation. And anytime you feel like letting the music take you, let it take you. You know, I might start singing. When I was with Dunn, I love the staple singers. So, you know, I'm like, I'll take you there. You know, he walks with me, he talks with you. But anyway, you're okay to do that, and we'll have a wonderful conversation. So, Dunn, Tom always loves to ask, what is your passion? What brought you here today?
Well, that's always an easy question, and you've been articulating it already. Of course, music is my passion. Far and far. There's nothing else even close in that stratosphere in terms of the passion. And what brings me here is a multitude of things. Number one, I'm here in Hamden, just moved here not too long ago. People may know. And of course, my relationship now with Pastor Paul has only extended my passion and my reasoning for being here today. Are uniting at I'm going to let him talk about the church side of it. But our connection there has just amplified my whole being, as you will, and my whole existence. And as you said, yes, I do have the piano here. So I'll play a little bit. I'll just play a little bit of Amazing Grace.
Just throw your hands up. Throw those hands up. And what better tune than that little known tune that wasn't known for 100 years, yes, you know, with Reverend Newton over there's a slave ship captain. Ooh, down Grace. Well, wonderful.
Anyway,
wonderful.
Amazing Grace. But that is what brought me here. And I want to thank you, Jesse, for having us here. Especially give a shout out to Tom Ficklin, also inviting us to be a part of this wonderful traditional unity-related base station. You guys have done tremendous things. Communities, everyone knows you. 103.5 is synopsis. This whole area, I'm starting to see the power of it. I'm feeling the power of it over these past three weeks. And so I thank everyone for having us here. Truly blessed. Go ahead.
Excellent, excellent. And Pastor Paul, we have so many questions for you. I don't know how you go from a rhythm and blues from over to, I'm going to be asking you about, are you classically trained? Was it like Aretha Franklin where Smokey Robinson was in the audience and she was only 5 years old and he said, she's a star? I don't know how, but tell us about your passion and what brought you here today, sir. And I'm honored and privileged to be here in your presence.
And thank you, Jesse. Thank you so much for having us, man, and having me. My passion has always been the same, and it's always been God, music, and little sports in there as well. Um, I'm a man of the arts, man. I love music. I love obviously I love the Lord, and it's always been synopsis into what I do and everything that I do. It kind of falls right into place. I was in Meriden before here, South Meriden United Methodist Church, and East Berlin United Methodist Church. I was pastoring two churches for 1 year, and my district superintendent saw fit to move me here in Hamden, being that the cultural change is definitely happening on this side of Hamden, and I think it was a great, wise choice. So coming in, the way I met Dunn was just something out of a storybook. You can't even write this stuff up. He was a substitute for my wife's music minister, and I guess she just kind of asked him where he was from, and he said, I live in Hamden. And she says, "Oh, my brother just started pastoring a church in Hamden." And it was like, okay, this is written. This is supposed to happen. So we've hit the ground running. We've been doing a couple of things for our conference, for the New York Annual Conference in the United Methodist Church. Also here for our Connecticut district under DS Alfer Sylvester. So yeah, I do have a huge passion for the youth as well, and connecting with those that, that are just trying to find another way. I grew up in a place called Spring Valley, New York. In my younger years, during the crack epidemic, it was a really tough place to live. By the time I was 14, we moved to a predominantly Caucasian area. And I was one of 5 Black kids in my graduating class of 368 students. And that experience also helped me, learn other cultures, learn what it means to stand out and to fit in at the same time. So it's been a blessing. My life's lessons have helped me to get here, and I just intend to share those lessons and to share those victories and those losses with some of our youth in Hamden and help them to succeed and get to the next level. So I'm very passionate about that as well.
Well, you have a friend now at CSU. You also have a literacy expert. You also have a civil rights activist, a member of Moral Mondays. And I'll be walking in the spring, April 1st to 4th, because you arrived in the state that has said that the state is not responsible to provide an equitable education, quality education for Black and Brown and special education. They did that in 2018, not 1818. But anyway, that's another story. We'll get to that. I'm thinking along the way, because I knew I was going to be here with you too, and I thought about, Horatio Spafford's "It Is Well With My Soul." It's a song. So having been a kid, I'm the opposite of you, Pastor Paul. So after the riots, after Dr. King's death, and 130 cities were in flames in America, I was one of the last white boys after the first white flight in a neighborhood of color, and I was welcomed and embraced. And that's not always the case when it's the other way around. But music was the stuff, and there was a time we were homeless, and my mother, like, how mamas can be, and they could, like, every reading, every church, every song was a lesson and stuff. And I remember when our Spaffords, they were doing "It's Well With My Soul," and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm feeling it a little, but I had other songs I wanted, And then the whole lesson went, and she said, well, faith doesn't guarantee that life is going to.
Amen.
Faith can be there for one that adversary thing, and I thought about Rapid had lost his son, and then it was finally he had lost. This is a millionaire of his day, loses millions of dollars worth of real estate in the Chicago fire, and somehow saves some money, sends his wife and children on a boat trip to Europe, and he's going to join them. The boat has a tragic sinking. Yeah, and thinking he loses his 4 daughters. How can, and it's only faith. And how do you write it well with my soul? So I was thinking, like, I shared, my song over there. Do you have a song that you remember? A spiritual song. I know there's others, but spiritual song that kind of moves you.
Do I?
Yeah, we'll go with you. And
Oh,
then we'll
man.
move it done because he's old school. He's got so many songs. He could take us an hour to unload.
There's this one, great is thy faithfulness. It hits home every time. Morning my mornings, new mercies I see. All that I needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Like I gave you a little bit about my history and my childhood. But in my early adult life, I got married at 20 years old, and me and my wife, we started a family. After my first son was born, I just figured let's just have them all now. Let's start this family now. Let's get it going. Let's get it cracking. And we have 4 beautiful children, all stair steppers. 20, 22, 21, 20, and 19. All my kids, I'm so proud to say this, all my kids are in college. My oldest is finishing up his senior year. He's playing Division II basketball, got a full scholarship. My second to the oldest is going to school right here in New Haven at Gateway. And then I have my oldest daughter, who's at St. Thomas Aquinas College in Spartankill, New York, and she's got a half track scholarship as well. And my youngest baby girl, she's going to Western Connecticut, and she's in her sophomore year. So I have to say, great is God's faithfulness, because it wasn't always easy. It wasn't always. We didn't see what was going to happen. We didn't see, the greatness that God had planned. But great is God's faithfulness, and the ability that He has to take our little faith, the size of a mustard seed, and to grow it, and to grow it to where we could see it, and then we can also recognize it. We had nothing to do with it. This was God. This was God. This was God. I laugh. I get excited in those moments.
Amen. I gotta throw my hands up for that. Yes. And we're gonna move and ask the same question to Dunn. But before that, I want to say about this faith in this music. My friend is Nelba Marquez Green, who lost her 6-year-old daughter, Anna Grace, at Newtown. And I was delivering books. She gives books away to teach who are stressful. And we did Hispanic Heritage Month, so I'm delivering the book to her. But Nelba shares a playlist. She's the one that when Barack Obama attended, came to New, he had a little sign that said love. And husband is a saxophonist. He's jazz saxophonist, Jimmy Green, also Grammy nominated music. You're in a good place in Connecticut over there. But she shared a playlist. Just the things like sometimes I can't be at service. I can be in the car. I can be walking.
Amen.
Just put it on. But Dunn, tell us, I'd love to go to the OJ stuff, but Paul Bass took that from me over there. but what's the spiritual song that lights you up?
Well, here we go again. There's a multitude of it. But first, before I get back to the music, I'm on the show with two very articulate, well-spoken gentleman here. So I'm at a disadvantage over
No,
here.
you are.
I represent the old school thinking. But let me just say this. The passion, I wanted to just touch on Jesse Turner for Pastor Paul, just so he understands who Jesse Turner is. Jesse Turner is what I call the #1 advocate for children in education. He goes beyond the veil. He and my significant other, they're professors at Central Connecticut State University. And Pastor Paul, I can tell you is that Jesse Turner is one that will advocate for you till the last moment of God's earth. He's so committed to everything. I have such a great passion for him. So to have the combination of the three of us here today, it just sort of soothes my sister, because I'm like, oh man, we're gonna have a love fest here. I thought we was gonna talk about something here, but we're gonna have some fun here. But to get back on topic, I'm sort of I'll say it in the old school way. There's a hymn that's called "God Is So Good," and the lyric is very simple, because that is the lyric. It's just God is so good. And it just keeps going. But the meaning to that, every single time that I hear it or I play it or I'm a part of it, it just says it all. And I'm that kind of guy. I'll tie this into music to whereas, and I'll bring in a little bit of the R&B side of it, or whatever you want to call it. But I always equate this to James Brown. I always start with him with the basics, because James Brown was a minister in his own right. He just was a minister. He was just a minister in R&B. But the way that he communicated and connected with the audience was that he just simply repeated the same thing over and over and over again. And it became hypnotic. It became to just tear through your soul. He would just vamp on down D, 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 D. Next thing you know, you think you jamming with D, D, D and stuff. You don't even really know what that means, but he just keeps saying it over and over again, and you just caught in the moment, and you just continue to go, 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 go. Well, that's the same principles, or that connection, of course, goes, or as we say on Sunday morning, it's that same connection. Each pastor, and Pastor Paul is exceptional at this. He loves to. I'm having the greatest time of playing some of these praise and worship songs, because they have a title to it. And Pastor Paul is great at connecting that title to the message. And by the time we get finished playing the song, you're just encapsulated. You just got the whole message of it, and it just takes you over. So it's those type of premises that really excite me. That's been my history of it. I sort of have been blessed to go in all different mediums of it, from Broadway to big screen to movies and commercials. But it always ties into the same thing. You got to make that message, and you got to make that connection. And many times I'm one, just me personally, from my own spirituality, the greatest thing I've ever heard in church was that Jesus was a simple man who spoke simple. That to me has always resonated in my life since I was a young man. And I mean, a real young man. I love the parables of how he spoke very simply. And I've tried to mirror my whole career and life based upon that. The simplicity of life is what it is to me. We could just keep it simple and keep it moving. So I appreciate this moment, and now we can move on to wherever you like to go, Mr.
Perfect. We're gonna have some more. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my mama, because I love my mama. She's no longer with us, but always here. And Mama was a big woman, and she's a white woman, so it's unusual for a white woman's hero to be Mahalia Jackson, and spiritual music every Sunday, because we're Catholics. So, Catholics have that quiet kind of music. Here I am, Lord. I love it. But, the stuff that moves you, there's a gospel over there. And Mama used to listen to the gospel. And she loved Mahalia over there. And she'd always dig into the song. So I'm thinking, Pastor, this is what you do. She dig into the songs. Like, I forget, there was one, if you were there, if you were there, Jesus's day, and Mahalia would sing that, and then we have the lecture. Or she'd be over there, she'd hear Merle Haggard, the country guy, singing. He walks with me, he talks with me, he tells me I'm his own, that kind of stuff. So Pastor, how do you feed those titles? Because I know that do this well, you are saving not only souls, but lives. That's a magic. That's a magic. Tell us a little bit about the magic, saving souls.
First off, all glory to God, man. I'm a vessel, and that's one thing I hold true to. I've felt in my own life's experiences. Even singing backgrounds for Alicia Keys for so many years, it's humbling to be able to see someone be used night after night to touch lives. I mean, we were in countries where folks didn't even speak English, but they knew every word of the song and they're singing along, and the feeling of the music was all the understanding that they needed. So I got a chance to really see that firsthand and experience that. And it really opened my eyes to the power of music, the power of connecting with people through this thing we call sound that we don't see, but we can hear, we can feel. There's nothing in the world like it. And just like that sound, the Holy Spirit moves just as well. So you add the Holy Spirit, another thing that we can't see, to that sound. And I believe that's what Mama was feeling. That's what Mama was feeling. And even James Brown in his upbringing and his music, that's what he was putting out there. This thing is unseen. We can't see it, but man, we could feel it. And ain't no feeling in the world like it. No feeling. And I that's something I love to be a vessel. I love to be an instrument of praise, an instrument of worship, and an instrument of just connecting people. I always say, I just make noise and some people like it. That's all.
Easy to say to the winner of The Voice, right? Easy to say. If you look at Dunn in the background of Dunn, I think I see a gold record hanging up. I think I see a platinum record. And let me tell you, the people aren't cheering or moving to me when I'm singing. Not at all. They're saying, quiet that kid down. Shut him up over there. But yes. Get that piece.
Jimmy, jump
Go
in.
ahead.
I was just looking at I was tracing some videos yesterday, and I went through one of my older videos with the OJs. And this particular one was what you call an electronic press kit with Walter Williams. It was Walter Williams and Eddie Levert. They are the two main OJ actual group. It actually belongs to the two of them. All right. So anyway, in this particular clip, he goes on with what Pastor Paul says. So Eddie Levert comes on. He says, I've never met a man that has the voice like my partner Walter Williams. He says, and together, we are able to sell out everywhere, Madison Square Garden. He said, and we don't really know why it is, but for whatever reason, people will go in their pocket, pick some money out and buy a ticket to hear us do what we do. And the great thing about it is that it's so innocent, but it's also so real because there's really no formula to it. There's no pathway to it. There's no way to figure out, well, why is it that one person can do this way and why do people connect? If that was the case, everybody would be a star. Everybody would do it. That it really goes back to, everybody's the star in the shower. You know what I'm saying? So everybody would come out the shower and be, and be stars. But the thing of it is that there's something about, as Pastor Paul was saying, there's something about a connection. And today, Jesse, you have Pastor Paul on here who has obviously have made that connection. And that connection, we have a similar, Pastor Paul talked about mine and his connection. So I'm going to talk about it a little more in depth this way. I'm going to say that the connection, as he said, was just God. There's no other way to explain how we got together. It just started, as he said, as a flippant conversation. Because the part he left out is that I told his sister, I said, well, tell your brother that Hamden, that's a shorter commute to me. You know what I'm saying? At that point, so it was just a flippant kind of comment. And here we are together, connected. Now, as he said, there's no way that we got together. That just had to be God. There's no other explanation to it. So it goes into what I was just talking about. How do we get to a particular place? Well, I believe that just as it is, I believe that God has a journey for each and every one of us, and it connects us into a particular time. I call it the time of the journey, the season that you have. All of us have had wonderful seasons and some not so good seasons, but we experience all this whole makeup of all of the seasons, of course, creates your entire yearly event, I call it, or your entire life. And this journey continues on. And I believe that right now, this particular connection that Pastor Paul and I have is, though we're on similar and different tracks, it obviously is connecting here to branch out to whereas only God can tell us where we're going and where this is happening. And I appreciate this whole scenario of how I got to Hamden and all of that, to be with him, because it just gives me affirmation that God is totally in control, because I don't know. So I want to take this tape here that we're doing here today, and I look to see that 2 or 3 years from now, we'll look back on this tape, as I just said about Eddie Levert, and some of these words that we just said here, I'm sure will have a relevance to where we're going, because as I'm looking at the two of you on the screen, I see two individuals that are tremendously committed to what they're doing. And I'm not going to shortchange myself. I'm just equally as committed. So we have 3 of us here that are committed to do something. And so we're committed to do what I call as God's work. And as he said, we're all just vessels here. And so I hope I continue that the ship shall sail. So that's enough of me. But I want you guys to go ahead on.
No, before we go to Pastor Paul, did he not just embarrass us? He said, like, oh, these are the articulate ones.
Yeah, right.
I think that John Pearson just outshined anything I could say. Or I could
exactly.
He has a way of doing that. Be thrown out the window now. That's gone over there. But let me ask you this question, Pastor Paul. When I talk to musical talent that have a spiritual connection, I kind of and it's not only that. I'm Irish, so my immigrant grandparents all come from Ireland. I'm married to an Irish woman. There's like Irish famous singers who somehow go back to the traditional music. So we got Van Morrison, that great jazz, person going to singing traditional songs, and they all do over there. But I'm wondering, I always ask, like, where were the roots? Did the roots start? Was it in church? Did you get classical training? Did you go to Juilliard? Were you a street corner musician? I lived in Jersey City, New York, so I'd be on the trains and music was everywhere. You just step out, Central Park was like a music, it was a concert. So where did it begin?
It began at home. And home, in my opinion, is the first church. It's the church before the church. My dad used to sing R&B in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. He went by the name Young Paul, and he was performing Boston Road in the Bronx, throughout New York City, opening up for Patti LaBelle. He was he was up and coming. One of his band members OD'd, and that changed everything for him. And yeah, so he started a family with my mother, who comes from a singing family, the Paytons out of Listman, Alabama. And you know, my dad's father was a minister, pastor as well. My mother's brothers were young ministers. So my dad actually met my uncles before he met my mother. My grandfather helped mentor my uncles into ministry, ordained them, and my mother soon came up to New York from Alabama, met my dad. They got married, and had 8 natural birth children. So I got 7 brothers and sisters, and then my parents eventually adopted 2 more children, both brother and sister. So my mother worked as a social worker, and she was an evangelist at St. John's Deliverance Tabernacle in Nyack, New York. And my dad was a music minister, bass player, and singer. And we just grew up singing. It's what kept us safe during the crack epidemic of the 80s, kept us out of the streets. We did talent shows, showcases, church concerts. We were just singing everywhere. And we still do. So, that's a blessing. Dunn got a chance to see all of us in action a little bit. We had an event right here in Hamden on the Green called Hearts for Justice, which is
you should have called me.
I didn't know you. I know
these
you now. I know you now. But my siblings and I, had my band come out. We did a little concert at the end of the night. The night consists of young local talent coming out, and I emceed the whole night and had them come up, do singing, dance, and poetry. It was beautiful. We also had some local vendors out with tables. The motorcycle club was there to help us as well. Hamden Youth Services, the Keefe Center was there. So I'm pretty much 3 months in, and this happened my second month, pretty much. It was a shotgun, but I wanted to make sure we had one in the books for this year, 2021. So 2022, we intend to have another one. And we're also looking to get some grant money in the church to have some facilities. The facilities there at the church used for the young local children here in Hamden, all consisting and focusing on music and arts. So that's Hearts for Justice. And so it's come full circle, man. So yeah, my dad mentored me singing and my siblings singing. So I'm of the mind to see how I could help those here in Hamden with the arts.
Well, that stuff that really saves us in our youth and schools, particularly in Harvard school, but it doesn't really whether you're life. I grew up in a time when the Vietnam War was terrible, taking over not only our neighborhood, parents are hands full.
Mm-hmm.
Music kind of kept us, five. Things are gonna get better, all those kind, and going to church on Sunday, faith, and of course the church is not just the service. What I'm hearing you talk about there, it's the after service, helping the youth do other things, find other things, using art. I mean, I have a feeling that New Haven, not New Haven, but on the rise, and I can't believe it came together. But I do want to get to, and I forgot to say that my friend Bishop Selders from Moral Mondays at Black Lives Connecticut is a friend of mine. He likes to tell me, he said, Jesse, I've been 3 generations of ministers. Okay, I just want you to know that it's in the blood. So I'm hearing not only was the music, but the church was in the blood. So I feel that. Now, Don, where was it that it began with you? Were you on the street corner? Did you just meet the OJs and just start playing outside of theater, or where was it? I'd like to know that.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to segue it back to Pastor Paul, because I'm going to sort of move it along to the connection from the quote unquote professional side of it, or the star side of it, to the church. And what I'm saying is this. Okay, so make a long story short, at the age of, I think I was somewhere between 6 or 7, 5, 6, 7 in that. The family next door to my grandmother's house, all of them played piano. They must have been like 4 or 5 siblings. And the unique part about all of them playing the piano was that each of them played a different genre. Like one played gospel music, another one played jazz music, one played classical. So I was mesmerized by the outstanding different ways that they performed the music. Okay, and so I was intrigued by that. So to make a long story short, I went and I asked my mom and my grandmom that I go and take lessons with, I want to do what they're doing. I didn't know which one I wanted to do, but I just knew that I wanted to play like them, because I would just sit for hours and hours and listen to them. So to make a long story short, yes. So I was granted that thing, and I think what connected me to the connection, and this connection has stayed with me all the way till I am sitting here today talking with you. The trade-off that my mother and my grandmother made with me is said, well, you know what? We're going to buy you a piano. We're going to send you and get you piano lessons. We're going to put the resources behind you to assist you in learning how to play it. But the drawback is, for my mother, was that I had to learn how to play this song. And that's Claire de Lune. I don't know if you can hear it. Okay, that was the trade-off with her. My grandmother said, you have to come to Methodist church with me and you got to play for the church. So that was the trade-off. So that connection always stayed there with me. So as my career took off, I got with the OJs, as you've articulated, and I learned how to write for orchestras and all of that. I was still intrigued by the wide ranges of the different genres. So that propelled me into my own career. I didn't want to be just in one genre. So I am proud, and the most proud thing that I have is to say that I was awarded the Decathlon of Entertainment Award, which represents that I've had success in every major idiom of music. I've had a major Broadway show. I've done major movie scores, major televisions, commercials, obviously the R&B world, and now in the praise and worship side of it. So I'm very extremely proud of that, because that's like my coming full circle. So the connection, and I'm going to ask Pastor Paul, he can articulate the same thing about his journey from coming from The Voice into where he is now. The same transition from me with the OJs is to say this, first and foremost, that what you get when you have that opportunity to be, quote unquote, in the pinnacle of your successful world. So I'll just keep it narrow in this function. I won't talk about the movies and all of that, because it's the same thing, but I'll keep it to the OJ, since that's what we started here. What the OJs taught me in the bigger picture was to say that, done, you can do it. It can be done. It's a very simple and narrow point. It just shows you that, yes, you can, it is possible. So wherever you are, how I started, menial ways, not being able to pay the rent. Well, we all got that same story involved in it, but it was also possible to rise up. It is possible to do it. So when we come to this task where I am now with Pastor, where we're now trying to and attempting to resonate with the youth, trying to bring them in, trying to make that connection, I already know that it's possible to do. So when it's possible to do, then it means it's probable that it shall be done. So that's the overall premise of the whole thing. That's where the journey started. And the rest of the I'll go back to the beginning again, just very quickly, is that from that connection of that 5 to 7 year old kid to making it with the arrangement in the OJs was just a growth pattern in the journey to get from one place to the next. But God had already ordained that in the original deal that I made with my mother and my grandmother. If I played the church, I learned how to play the classical music. And I got to tell you, of course, the classical is the basis of learning how to write and read music. So I just wanted to throw that out there to the audience, that all of these are building platforms. So when you go to school, the young ones that are listening out here now, it's a pathway for you to get to where your other journey is. You may not know where your journey is. So don't try to define the journey, but just absorb everything that is happening to you along the way. All right, that's enough of Pastor Dunn, as you say.
Yeah, Pastor Dunn.
But I'll turn it. But I'll turn it over to Pastor Paul, because I know that the audience want to hear how you got from the voice.
Yes, we do.
To where we are. I'm sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, he just hit it right on the nose. Hard act to follow there. Dunn is a minister in his own right. I call him minister, because he ministers in his playing, and he ministers in his speech and his life's lessons that he's taken on. It's just a blessing to be able to hear the other side, and well, for me, I guess the voice was an elevation. I was on the road with Alicia for 10 plus years, and off and on, but we were really busy. And I'll never forget, my son came to me and said, "Daddy, I want to get stronger." And, I gave him some weights, but then it just hit me even harder. Like, you know what? I need to help him get stronger. I need to take some time off the road, and I need to help him get stronger. And I made the decision. I went to Alicia and I says, listen, I got to be home. Things have changed a little bit. Kids are getting a little bit older. I can't just go and come back as much as I was, because they're looking for me. They need me a little bit on another level. So I took the time off, and I did like a couple spot dates with her, but nothing crazy. And then I eventually was just home. And during that time, like, Dunn said, things were financially tough. But I want to go back just for a second before I go into this next bit about the voice. I want to talk about the beginning, like sort of like what Dunn just did, because there is a message in this. I believe he hit it right on the nose. You enjoy the journey, you absorb what you need to take in, you learn what you need to learn in those moments. I didn't know, I knew I was going to be a pastor, but I didn't know how I was going to get here. I always knew that I had a calling on my life. From the time I was like 13, 12 years old, I knew that I was called to be a pastor. I just didn't know how I was going to get here. I went into licensing school at 19, 20 years old, and I got a record deal. And then soon after that, I had a group named One Accord. We did some things. We did a couple soundtracks, and I learned some valuable lessons. I learned how the party isn't every day. When a lot of times when you get these young artists, they come up and they party. The excitement, the celebration, it can linger. And I lost one of my closest friends, one of my fellow singers in my group, passed away from alcohol, died from alcohol. This guy would not touch a drink when we were kids. By the time he was 27 years old, he was gone. But it was about that celebration. It was about everything's great, everything's good. Let's have a drink. Let's have a smoke. Everything's good again. Let's have a drink. Let's have a smoke. And it just became a cycle of every day. I learned, it was one of the most valuable lessons I learned as a young man, not to embellish the party, embellish the celebration, you know, let the joy of the Lord be your strength and stop looking for happiness. You know, happiness is based on happenings. Like if something good happens, I'm happy. But the joy of the Lord is everlasting. Even through those tough times, you know,
Amen.
we can find the joy of the Lord, and it can sustain us because we know we have an everlasting life to look forward to. That we're just passing through here, you know. But I learned that valuable lesson with One Accord. And after One Accord, I had a band named Focus, and I was working a job at Adidas. I was stacking boxes, working in the stock room, and Alicia's manager was good friends with my manager at the time, and he was doing an R&B night. We did R&B nights, man. We were doing shows, and guys that were on the radio, artists that were on the radio, I won't say who they are, but they were on the radio. They were playing on every major radio station, and they did not want to go on the stage after us. We were tearing up all the clubs in New York City. Full band, sax, guitar, drums, keys, all young cats out of Five Towns University. And we were doing it the old school way. You know, wasn't no tracks. We were coming up and we were doing it. With that, with Focus, I learned the importance of authenticity, the importance of real music. Real music. I mean, from, you know, like they say, when you're making music done, you know this, when you hear that click, that doop, doop, that metronome, from the metronome to the end of the song, when the song is complete, making something out of nothing, from silence to music. I learned the importance of that. So I picked up the guitar and I taught myself the guitar. I had some teachers teach me some chords, because I always wanted to be in a place where I could just flat out sing and have some kind of music accompaniment, not have to worry about, you know, nothing else. And now with that Focus, we did our thing for a while, and then I went on to be a background vocalist for Alicia Keys. And that for with what I learned with Alicia was the responsibility that we have as music leaders, as singers, as artists. You have a responsibility. You can't just put anything out in the air, because it will come back to you. Whatever you put out there is going to come back to you. You know, a lot of these artists, but they had some real issues before they became stars, before they became, you know, big time. They had some real personal issues, and they're fighting through these things at the same time. They're ministering to the people. Their words are ministering. These kids are eating them up, eating the words up. They're taking it all in. And it's no wonder why we lose so many of our artists. It's no wonder why so many of our artists are lost. Because yes, some of them they continue to celebrate. It's about the party every day. Some of them don't know the importance of authenticity, and some of them don't know the importance of being a minister. You are a minister. Those words are being heard, and they're being eaten up. So those were some of the lessons that I've learned coming up, leading up to The Voice. So by the time I did The Voice, it wasn't a game show for me. It was life. It was a faith walk. I turned away money. I turned down opportunities. And I says, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to be authentic as much as I possibly can. You know, I'm not going to celebrate the small celebrations. I'm going to continue to work harder and keep moving. And I'm going to make sure I'm going to be a minister. Everything I sing, I'm going to make sure that it applies to me. It's going to minister to me first before I could say it to someone else. And that's been my journey. You know, The Voice has been great. And at the end of The Voice, when I won the whole thing, they said, you know, they said, Jermaine, tell us, you give a couple shout outs. And I said, you know, I'd like to thank my mother, my father, my mother-in-law, my best friend, DJ Walton. And then I stopped. I had a moment. I said, all those that supported me. And then I said, and I'm supposed to give a shout out. But I started think about the journey. I said, all the work that I put in. And then I said, you know what? Nobody but Jesus. Nobody but Jesus. And that in that moment, I knew exactly what time it was. It wasn't time for me to go on tour to be an artist. It wasn't time for me to go and, no, it was time for me to connect with my creator, my maker, my God. And that's what I've been doing since.
Well, now Dunn takes over as the philosopher. You now just beat me. I'm just a little fish in the big pond with the two most articulate people in Connecticut. Oh my God. I'm listening to A Faith Walk. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this journey. And I can understand how blessed we are in Connecticut. Now I'm saying, I'm looking at this combination. I don't know if either one of you have done a gospel album yet, but I'm seeing one coming if it's not there. And
we already talked about it. We working on it.
I'm just feeling it. I'm just feeling. Let me be in the studio. I can bring the coffee. You know what I mean? I'm not. You don't want me doing the background. There's no musical talent. I'm not even a great dancer. I'm just okay. But coffee I can get for you, gentlemen. Yes. I love this and this, and something that people don't know. All of us work with young people somewhere along the way, and I do. And you're right about the love of the party, and they don't realize that when the party is every single day, every day, it's gonna break you. It broke Frank Steinman, who sang, A Teenager in Love. He was just 24 when drugs took him. We broke so many people. Janet Joplin, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, we just label them that party every day. So I love that. Gentlemen, we have just 2 minutes left. So how about 1 minute each, just a farewell. Thank you, bless you. Thank you, Tom Ficklin. Thank you, 103.5 FM WHNN, because this was a blessing. So why don't we go with you, Dunn, for, just like a minute, and then we'll ask Pastor Paul to end us. And fellas, let it take you, he walks with me. He talks with me. Yeah.
Well, it's very simple with me, Jesse. I want to say one more time again, I want to thank you and Tom for all of the work that you continue to do for the communities here. You're a mainstay, and I'm just pleasured and honored and blessed to be a part of this whole journey here that we're embarking upon. I want to say this to the audience that is listening. Please come out. We're at Hampden Plains United Church. Make a connection with us at any time, and we will certainly connect with you. Our goal, certainly, as being vessels here for God, is to connect with as many people as we can. Youth, olders, whichever way that you are, we want to make a connection with you. We want to be involved in the community. We want to go beyond, I call it, I'm maybe say more of an elder statesman here, involved in some of the political things that we can do to actually make change, that can make that connection to real life. People are out here that they're suffering and they're going through challenges, and we all of us, we are collective of that. And we want to make that connection. So I say to all of the politicians, and of course, I'm going to make a plug for myself as well. I run a company called All Done Advertising Agency. And I teach entrepreneurial school in New Haven. I do a class there, and I do an outreach with all of the local investors that go through the program, that are starting up businesses, minority businesses. I make the connection with them. I want to do advertisements for them. And we want to make all of these things go, because once again, I want to stress that last point that I made a second ago, that it is possible. It is possible. So if you have an idea, you have a business, you want to do some things in life, whatever that is, reach out. There are many of us that are standing by that want to help. We have ways to do it. We must take care of our legacy and build upon it. Thank you very much.
Love it, love it. All right, Pastor Paul, you kind of got your 40 seconds to go. I love it. And we better go turn out, right? We better turn out. We know where the place is to throw your hands up and to worship and to feel the Spirit. I know where it is now.
Amen.
All right, go ahead, Pastor.
Amen. First off, let me thank you, Jesse and Tom, for having us. Dunn for inviting me. It's now become even more evident that God's work that He's about to do here in Hamden is going to be so far greater than any eye or any ear has seen or heard. I'm excited. I'm overwhelmed with joy. Dunn, I know exactly why you're here. I got a love for the youth, but you have a very keen eye for what needs to happen. And I'm here helping and following your lead, and we're going to do this together. Amen. 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 But like he said, Hamden Plains United Methodist Church, 15 Church Street in Hamden, right here in Connecticut. We believe in serving the Lord and serving our community. After God, we put people first. So we hope to see you, hope that you can come out and celebrate the Lord with us, and just have a good time. You know, keep an eye out for Hearts for Justice. It is an arts program that we are building right in our church. We have a lot of space in our church. We're working on some repairs or signing up for some grants, and anything that can help, anyone that can help would be. We would welcome you with open arms, because we do have a war ahead of us. The devil is not taking any breaks. He's not taking any naps. He's wide awake on Sunday morning all the way to Saturday night. So we got to do the work. We got to stay busy.
We can't end with any better. It was a Facebook comment. Hello, Pastor Paul, Team God first, and Team Blake. Okay, just that wasn't certain. Yeah. But just as I got another rhyme and love you. Thank you for blessing me. Where let the music take us home. Thank you. Thank you.
Amen.
Amen.
Better watch the way you're going. Better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gonna be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains. Haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Cause this is my road. Lights, camera, action, I'm ready to go. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down.